William Newton, you are president of Wiredscore. Thank you for joining us on BiTV.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Wiredscore has launched on Tuesday a new international certification, SmartScore. What is your ambition for this new standard and what does it entail?
Well, we believe that the future should be both better connected, but it should also be smarter. So we spent the last year working with 100 of the most progressive property companies in the world, from landlord and developers to investors, agents, engineers, and technologists, as part of the Wiredscore Smart Council, thinking through what the future of the property industry looks like, and especially how smart can play a really important part in that. During those conversations, I think we've discovered that smart should not be about technology. For too long, the debate here has been dominated by technologists who tell you that how many sensors you have in your building is the same thing as how smart it is. But we believe that that's not true. We think that for a building to be smart, it's smart because it delivers outcomes to users. And it's those users of real estate who so often get lost in these conversations. When I say users, I primarily mean tenants, but I also mean visitors. I mean the property management team, and I mean the owners of the building as well. And more generally, of course, because sustainability is so important, I mean the whole of society. And I think what we want to do with our certification is try and shift the conversation about smart from one of a conversation about technology to one about outcomes and about users.
Therefore, what are the main characteristics that are needed for a building to be certified SmartScore?
So the SmartScore certification is premised on these outcomes for users, and we've identified with the Wiredscore Smart Council 4 different outcomes. The first is an inspirational user experience. The second is a cost-efficient building. The third is a sustainable building, and the fourth is a future-proofed building. So they're the outcomes that we're driving at. And to judge whether or not a building fulfills those outcomes, we look at 2 different levels. Firstly, the user functionalities that are delivered by that building, and secondly, the technological foundations which underpin the building and deliver those user functionalities. Well, when I talk about user functionalities, what I mean are things like health and well-being, sustainability, individual and collaborative productivity, physical security, maintenance and optimization, and services. So they're the exciting things that are what the users want, and then they have to be underpinned by the technological foundations, including things like better connectivity and really great building systems. So if you have all of those things in place, you'll have a phenomenal building. You might even get up to SmartScore Platinum, but bringing in combinations of those things as they're relevant to your users and to your building will allow you to have a building that could be certified SmartScore.
And as we saw, the first 70 buildings that were certified SmartScore are owned by some of Europe's most important investors. How do you see investor interest in smart buildings developing going forward?
Well, I think in this post-pandemic world that all of us are living in, buildings are going to end up falling into 2 camps. There are going to be the old, antiquated buildings which nobody has put love or money into, that fall apart, and they increasingly become places where nobody wants to rent them, or if they do, they will only do it at a really low level. And then there's going to be a much different kind of building, a really high quality building that's going to be able to rent out at high prices to tenants. But more than that, it's going to allow tenants to entice their workforce back into city centres because they want to work at these high quality buildings. And I think smart buildings has a really big role to play in that, to helping tenants attract their own workforces back in. We certified with SmartScore buildings in 7 countries from 44 landlords, and they're really some of the most impressive landlords in the world. So it's clear that there's a movement and a momentum behind the idea that high quality space should be phenomenal, it should be tech enabled, and it should be delivering remarkable outcomes to users.
Well, thank you for this insight, and thank you all for joining us. See you soon on BiTV.